The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays or Sundays, SOR Media, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of SOR Media is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced? Then come own the night with us.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all
stationed atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
Brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized.
It's Thursday, August 30th, Friday, August 31st, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on the SOR radio network and Deep Talk Radio, and we say hello to each and every one of you. If you want to listen to our archives, we keep them free on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. But let's make a trade. You listen, I get the subscribe button that you hit. That's a fair deal. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Don't forget you can now purchase your tickets for the first annual Caribou Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. That event is 1 month from now, September 28th through 30th. It's coming right around the corner. Get your tickets. Go to questers.ca. That's questers.ca. Click on the fall conference. You can see the lineup there. It is fantastic. Get your tickets. I want to meet with you. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Go to spacedoutradio.com, click on the Ensuho banner, and subscribe to the channel today. I got to give a quick shout-out to Oscar on Twitter. Thank you, Oscar. Sent me a Milwaukee Brewers hat. He's a big-time Brewers fan. He knows I'm a Yankee fan. Saw my Yankee hat on one of my Facebook Lives that I do to kick off the week. Said, dude, we got to get you a new hat. So I'm wearing your Milwaukee Brewers hat tonight, Oscar. He also sent me this really cool Ford key because if you believe in the Mandela effect, the Ford key on the F, it has like a little swirl. You know how they put that, like Dairy Queen puts that swirl on top of the ice cream? That little Q? Well, Ford does the same thing on their F. And it's always kind of been denied that the swirl isn't there. Well, I got a key here that shows that it isn't. It's kind of cool. Mandela effect or not. But nonetheless, thank you, Oscar, for the very, very kind note and the gifts that you sent in the hat and the key. I really appreciate it. They will be forever etched in the Spaced Out Radio studio. Thank you so much. There are a lot of rumors and stories around our subject tonight. Most of them usually involve some sort of evil tale. Yet, for those who work closely with spirit boards like Karen Dahlman, who will be here on Halloween night, Robert Murch, or tonight's guest, Barry Strohm, the messages they get from the other side or up above are some of the most interesting interactions that people can have in the paranormal world. Mr. Strohm, Barry Strohm, and his lovely wife Connie have taken part in more than 500 hours of spirit board channeling with the other side, and they've provided a lot of information, just incredible stuff. Spirit interviews range from early Christian saints to contemporary giants such as President Kennedy, and it's all helped Barry write a series of books with history telling the stories written through the Spirit Board. Barry's website is spiritspredict.com. He'll be with us for the next 2.5 hours. Then in the bottom of hour number 3, we get to the news with the Encounters Everett Themer. Mr. Strohm, it's been a while since we had you on Spaced Out Radio, but you are a huge fan of this show. I know you are. You've told me many a time. We're a big fan of you. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Hey, it's an honor to be back. I missed you.
Oh, we missed you, man. We missed you. How you been? How are you and Connie?
We're doing good for old people. You know, we're still almost vertical, which at our age, it's a step in the right direction. Yeah. But we have been very busy with our channeling, doing a lot of incredibly interesting stuff, and just living the life.
That's good. And you know, you have a antique store in Pennsylvania that is extremely haunted. You have to tell this story about your antique store, what it was, and some of the ghosts that hang out at your store.
Well, it used to be a shoe factory. We're about 8 miles from Gettysburg, and the factory dates back to 1877 in places. We bought it 30 years ago. It had been an abandoned warehouse when we bought it. We fixed it up, remodeled for antiques. And we've been here almost 30 years now selling antiques, and did not realize when I bought the place that it's like this condominium for ghosts. In our basement, we actually have a portal, and I have infrared cameras on down there, and we can basically turn the cameras on and watch them anytime we want to. When we shut down at night, every night we see ghosts on the security cameras here. They're very friendly. We take care of them, and we've talked to a bunch of them on the channeling board. We have 8 guys here that have worked here, that worked when it was a shoe factory, and they're still hang around on occasion. All kinds of interesting people, but it's quite a place. Whenever we do a show, I can always count on something taking place. Sometimes I can actually see spirits. So we generally have 2 or 3 of them that'll sit in, listen to a radio show when we do it. It's an unbelievable building. Sometimes it's just very hard to put into words what goes on around here.
And I understand that, but you know, I know it's not funny for you, but from an outsider's perspective, I think it's pretty funny because you and Connie have been trying to sell this store for the last couple of years. You've dropped the price, you've done everything you are supposed to do in real estate, yet the ghosts have been telling you, yeah, you're not allowed to sell.
Yeah, they sure have. As a matter of fact, we were channeling with one of the guys that worked here. His name's Art. And we said, Art, do you have a message for us? And we had a place for sale. We got a big for sale sign outside. And Art says on the channeling board, bring the sale sign inside. So they're not real happy that we're trying to leave them, and I'm pretty sure that they're fighting against it because it's a great building, and we certainly have not been able to sell it for a couple of years now, and we've been trying hard.
I don't blame you. How stressful has that been, knowing, from your side that you got these spirits who will not allow your building to be sold? In the meantime, you want to make a major family move and go back home to, I believe it's Utah.
Yeah, no, we'd really like to do that. It can be frustrating. I mean, we've got all kinds of stories where where I can tell that they're not exactly helping us. We're only 8 miles from the Gettysburg battlefield, and we do a lot of prior life stuff, and I know an awful lot about a bunch of my prior lives, and I actually fought out on the battlefield in my prior life. And I know the regiment number, everything. I know exactly where we fought, and I can go out on the battlefield with a ghost box and actually talk to the spirits that I fought with out there. Last fall, I took 4 people out with me as witness, and they recognize your soul, believe it or not. And everybody out there is probably thinking I'm totally crazy at this point, but I take a ghost box out, and I've got 4 witnesses with me. And when I was there in prior, I was a Confederate captain, and I was in the 31st Virginia Regiment. And I took my friends out, walked up to the spot, turned on the ghost box, and I said, "Do you guys recognize who I am?" And over the ghost box, you could hear very clearly, "Yes, sir, Captain." And we commenced to have a conversation with the spirits out there. And one of them, somehow or other, would you believe the ghosts on the battlefield know I'm trying to leave? And over the ghost box, I can hear one of them yell, "Quitter." They knew that I'm trying to sell the damn store and go home.
Oh, man.
So they're even upset out there over it. It's a crazy world I live in.
Barry, I got to ask, okay, and I don't know if this is possible or not. If you believe you are reincarnated from a Gettysburg soldier, have you tried to channel yourself on the battlefield?
No, you're only one soul. When your soul's back in incarnate form, you can't. It's over here. You can't do anything with it on the other side. The souls have to be on the other side that you channel with.
Very interesting, because I just wasn't sure about that. All of a sudden I had this power thought, Barry, try channeling yourself. What the hell are you doing, missing out on that grand opportunity?
That would be really scary, for me. Yeah, no, but you can't do something like that. We're working through, when you channel, you work through the spirit guides, and they help the souls on the other side come through. I can communicate with anybody in the other side, but when your soul is in incarnate form, your soul's in your body. You might talk to yourself once in a while, especially when you're drinking, but you can't channel with yourself.
Barry, I have to ask, because there is still, to this date, a plethora of controversy surrounding spirit boards, Ouija boards, and any type of communication device of the such. Yet you and Connie have been using one for years. Let's talk about how you got using a spirit board for communication. What brought you to this?
Well, we were introduced to some people out in Salt Lake City, and they had been doing it for 40 years. At 2 generations were channeling with spirit boards. And as part of our life plan, we were supposed to actually learn to do this, and this is the easiest way to really communicate in detail with the other side. So we were introduced to these folks out there, and after a couple of years of being friends with them, they admit that they are psychics, and then we admit that yes, we're doing the same thing back in Pennsylvania. So they invited me to go to a session where they were channeling on the board. I walked in, had no idea what it was. They used a circular board, and 2 of them get on each side, and they just used a shot glass They had a glass surface on it with shot glass, and they would spray lemon oil on it to lubricate it. And I had no clue what's going on. I sit down, they start, and they start repeating the message, and it goes, "Hello, Barry, we've been waiting for you." And they proceeded to tell me about things that were taking place back in Pennsylvania. They told me about spirits that we had contacted, the name of spirits we were talking to, told me a little bit about my prior life. And I mean, just simply blew me away with the information. And these people did not have any of this. They had no knowledge of me or what I'd done. So I asked them if we could, if I could learn to do it. And they started to teach Connie and I how to do this thing. And we started out, I would be on one side of the board and one of them would be on the other side. And we would, they would lead me through it. And then eventually Connie and I started just to do it by ourselves. And when we started on it, one of the very first sessions we had, the spirit guides came in and said, "Whatever you do, never, ever request evil. Because we're opening that channel, and if you request it, you're going to get it." Then the spirit guides gave us a prayer of protection that we use. So we start every session we do, Connie will repeat this prayer of protection, and then we take off. And we're up probably over 700 hours of doing this now. And I've got my 6th book is at the publisher from information that we've gained on the spirit board. So we have had times where they've tried to come through, and you can generally feel the energy shift, and we just know how to stop it. And I can honestly say in the years we've been doing it now, we've had no problems with it. And the information has just been absolutely phenomenal that we've been able to tell.
How important is it to have that prayer, and how do you know that you are channeling the right spirits?
Well, the prayer is incredibly important. As they explained to us in the beginning, your protection is your faith in God. If you do not have that protection, you have absolutely no business doing this. Just like I always say, if you're an atheist, you have no business doing paranormal investigations because you have no protection. We've got the point now that we can actually feel the energy when the spirits are coming through, and we can feel energy changes. We work basically now with one guide, one or two guides, and when we start, I can tell by the speed of the glass and what their energy feels like whether we truly have the guide or not. Sometimes we'll actually have spirits try to come in and fake it, but you can pick it up. Where our guides move the glass just incredibly fast, the glass will move at a different speed. It'll be unsure, so you can pick it up when you got a problem.
When it comes to using the spirit board, what's the difference between what you were using and the typical Ouija board that everybody is freaked out about?
Well, my board, my letters and numbers are in a round circle, and we have glass. We have a glass surface on it, and we have a couple other commands. We have yes, no. We have a rest command, hello, goodbye, and that kind of thing. But I actually use, where the Ouija board uses a normal planchette, I actually use a hot poured quartz beaker, a small one. And the quartz actually helps us magnify the energy that we receive through this thing. And the basic difference is our faith and our prayers that we use to protect us. If you use your prayer of protection, I firmly believe you have no problem with a normal Ouija board. It's just people get in trouble. They ask for evil, it comes through for them, then they don't know what to do with it. As I said, the very first command we ever had was never, ever request evil. And we don't, never have.
But there's a lot of people out there, to play the other side of the ledger here, who will say, how do you really know? And explaining it by the speed of a planchette may not be enough evidence to make sure that you are truly safe.
Uh, I think I really think it comes down to the faith that you have that you will be protected. All I can tell you is we've done this now. I mean, a lot, and we've never felt endangered by it. I mean, there are other people that have gotten into big trouble using boards, but we're opening a channel to the other side. When you use a ghost box, you're opening a channel to the other side. When you go to haunted buildings, you can have an attachment come away with you. You've got to protect yourself. I mean, just anything you do where you're dealing with spirits, there are good spirits and there are bad earthbound spirits. And I keep going back to the same thing, but it's just your faith that protects you.
With so many people having so many different faiths out there and what they believe in, how do we know that we are getting the protection that is necessary?
There's no single God. God is a universal energy. It can be spirit. It can be whatever. You can be protected simply. You don't have it's not just Christians that are protected by it. That universal energy understands and protects if you ask for that protection.
Barry, out of all the spirits that you have been in communication with over the years, do you prefer talking to those who once walked along this planet, or do you prefer talking to entities that maybe be from out of this world?
I can't say I have a preference. When we started writing the alien books, we learned that extraterrestrials have the same soul energies that humans have, and it's going to be. I mean, everybody's going to be scratching their head right now, but everybody's soul has been on other planets in prior lives. If you look at it like this, soul energies have been around since creation, basically. Humans have only been here for 250,000 years, give or take 50,000. So where do you think that soul energy was before humans walked the earth? Well, the answer is it wasn't on Earth. It was on other planets. And the evolution of souls has been going on for basically billions of years. And what you're seeing when souls come back now, you are the product of that evolution. Your soul can be very advanced, or it could have done a lot of bad things and be in a bad place.
So you obviously believe in reincarnation then?
Absolutely and unequivocally.
Okay. Doesn't that go against the Word of God in biblical terms?
In biblical terms, it does. But you will find out that much of what is written in the Bible has been exaggerated by man through the years. Just the same as in the book that's at the publisher, I quote over 300 Gospels that were not included in the Bible. And there's almost any message you ever want to hear in those Gospels as you read through them. When Constantine, in 325 AD, when Constantine selected the books, laid the framework for what was going to become the Bible, they selected basically 27 Gospels, and there were 300 presented at Nicaea. So he was very selective in what he chose Gospels to give him political protection, and then those Gospels were taken and translated, retranslated, exaggerated, and basically changed through the years. And yes, biblical teachings in many instances are different than what we speak of. But I will tell you this: reincarnation is mentioned in the Bible.
Where?
John the Baptist was Isaiah reincarnated, and it tells you that 3 places in Matthew. So Jesus talked of reincarnation to his disciples. He just didn't talk them to the people because it was too complicated. When Jesus spoke to the people, he spoke in a very, very simple language. he spoke to people that were basically uneducated. When you read the Bible, you read parables, and the Bible is a very difficult book to understand. I mean, scholars differ in meanings of the different parables and wording that are in the Bible. Jesus spoke in a very plain language. If he would have spoke to the common people of the time in parables, they would have thrown stones at him, and that would have been the end of it. So there's a lot of difference between what is recorded and what took place. A lot, probably 50% of it's good, but a lot of it has been exaggerated through the years.
Since you've been using the spirit board, how has it affected your spirituality and your beliefs?
It has made me 1,000% believer in a universal God.
Can you define that?
The spirits that we've talked to, I mean, we've channeled with some of the holiest of the spirits. The messages that we've received have been phenomenal. The energy of love that you feel when you speak to some of these individuals is just almost incomprehensible. And I mean, in the beginning, we really doubted whether we could be channeling with these individuals. But as we accumulated all the different messages and information and actually felt these energies when these individuals would come through for us, I have absolutely no doubt of the people that we're channeling with, or the spirits that we're channeling with.
Now, when you go after looking for spirits, how do you choose who you're going to talk to? Is it a crapshoot of who comes through on their own, or is it something that you have a direction that you want to take?
It's generally a direction I want to take. We will request the spirit's presence, and I will pray for that presence a couple nights in advance before we want to do the session. And I will actually sit down and write out an agenda of questions that I will ask that spirit when we have them present. So no, it's very calculated. It's thought through. And sometimes, for instance, we're doing some YouTube stuff right now and some Facebook Live, and they will tell us who the next spirit will be available for interview. So right now they're telling us who they're bringing through next. But in the past, I would request. When I did the conspiracy book, I would request Jack Kennedy came through, for instance. And we would have his presence, and he told us everything that happened to the assassination, who was behind it, who pulled the trigger. And I would go back and research the information that he gave us, and the names and all the information would appear in conspiracy theories or in the written history. So every time we would get information, I would always go back and research it and try to verify that it was true. And I mean, the percentage of the information being accurate is just unbelievable.
So when you get these messages, just for clarification for our audience, you're not someone, when you are writing this down in a book form, you're not someone who's just taking it verbatim. You're actually going out there and researching to make sure that the wool isn't being pulled over your eyes.
That's correct, yeah. I spend a lot of time in research on the stuff that they give us. Well, I learned who was behind the assassination. I learned who the trigger man was. I learned names of other people that were involved. Right. For instance, Lyndon Johnson was behind the assassination. The reason being, the Kennedys told him that he would not be on the ballot second term. He wouldn't be vice president. So Johnson wanted to be president, so he knew he had to act. So he involved some of his mafia friends and some people working in the government, and they put this plan together and carried it out. The trigger man, Oswald was not the killer. The kill shot came from the roof over top of the window of the book depository. They set it up on the 6th floor, which was next to the roof, so the kill shot, the angle would be the same. and there was a second shooter on the grassy knoll. There were actually, I think, 5 shooters that were lined up in case they missed. So it was a very, very elaborate plan that they pulled off. And the name of they gave, Kennedy said that the guy that shot from the roof of the depository was a fellow by the name of Frank Sturgis. And you can go in and see, if you go into some of the conspiracy theories, you'll see his name occur in there. He also said that E. Howard Hunt was involved with the assassination plan. And Hunt gives a deathbed confession that he was involved with the Kennedy assassination. So everything that Kennedy told us, basically I could prove, or at least find the names and the associations.
That is weird. How prepared are you for these? Okay, because a lot of people may say, okay, Barry, how do we know that you don't have all the information stored there beside you in names, in research, that you haven't looked this topic so much that you're trying to answer it yourself?
Well, one thing that we've done for all our sessions is we always video or every session that we do. So I have this huge video file now, and I can go back and show you the sessions where we get this information. And it'll be obvious to you that I'm not sitting there with a pile of notes doing this, that it's, we are receiving these messages from the other side.
There are a lot of people out there who believe that spirit boards, they work off of your own energy, okay? That it's actually you pushing the planchette. It's not a spirit, and that it's your own nervous system that happens so delicately that we don't even tell or know that it is happening. What do you think about that?
Well, I can tell you what we did to prove that wasn't true. My friends are out in Salt Lake City that taught us to do this. So in the beginning, when we were learning this, I would be in Pennsylvania, and I would have my friends in Salt Lake on Skype. And I would ask the questions from Salt Lake City, or from Pennsylvania, and they would give me the answers that were given to them on the board in Salt Lake. And I can guarantee you I'd had very little control with that board being 2,000 miles away from me.
Okay, to play devil's advocate again, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
People may say, well, how do we know that they didn't already know that about you?
Well, they can say whatever they want, but I can tell you, they knew nothing about what was going on back here. I mean, when we used to channel with Moo, he would come in for them out in Salt Lake, and I would ask the questions from here. I'll tell you a quick alien story. I actually saw an alien one night, a real one. We were in our apartment, and my wife, Connie, she's been abducted, and we have the information and all that. And it answered some questions that we had been living with for 20 years. But we were asleep, middle of the night, and we have night lights on at night. Something wakes me up, and I sit up in bed, and I look over, and here's this big form standing next to her in our bedroom. And I cleared my head because I thought I had to be dreaming this thing. And I look, and I see this reptilian form standing there. And I wasn't scared or anything because I'm thinking maybe Connie went for another trip. But I look at him, and he looks at me, and he smiles, and I can see him smile in the nightlight. And as soon as he does, he knocks me back out, and I'm back asleep. And I wake up the next morning, and I'm thinking, man, that was really freaking weird, right? And I told Connie, I said, I think we had a real alien in the room last night, but I never mentioned to her or anybody the thing about smiling. So I said, there's only one way we can prove this. So I got my friends in Salt Lake, and the board is in Salt Lake City. I'm here in Pennsylvania, and we're on Skype. And I asked for Moo to come in for them. So Moo checks in out in Salt Lake, and that's where the board is. And I said to him, Moo, did I see a real alien last night? And his answer was yes. And did you see him smile at you? and that was the answer given in Salt Lake, and they had no clue I even saw an alien.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I'm sticking with the story that I saw one. But that's
freaky.
That board was 2,000 miles away from me, and they had no clue what. All they knew was I said something happened, and I got to get some answers. That's all they knew.
That's just incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah. I would say so.
I mean, if there isn't any more convincing that one needs in their own experience, that's it.
Oh no, it was real. I mean, I looked at it and I thought it was real. And the weird part was I didn't have any fear. And I asked Moo, I said, why did he appear to me? And Moo said, because we wanted to see if you had fear so that you can move ahead with what we're doing.
Interesting.
And I did. Yeah, it was a test.
For a lot of people who may not have heard our earlier shows that we did, because our audience is always changing and always growing, I would love for you to tell the audience who Moo is. You've mentioned Moo a couple of times here on the show, and I think it's only fair that you explain who your friend is. Yes, I can do that. When I started writing my second book, it was called Afterlife, What Really Happens on the Other Side. And as we were gathering information from our guides on this, I started asking some questions about aliens. First of all, I started with simple one, do aliens exist? The answer comes back, of course. Like fool, who doesn't believe that? So I started getting more involved with some of the questions. So one night the guide gives us the message, next week we are going to introduce you to another guide, and he will answer all your questions because he is one. And I said, is one what? And he said, oh, he was an alien in his last life. So he'll answer your questions for you. And his name is Moo. So the next week, in comes Moo. It almost sounds like a song. But Moo comes through for us. And I start asking some questions. And Moo died in 1987 in our time. And he was a blue alien. He was a planet called Robe that was on the far side of the Milky Way. In life, he stood 9.5 feet. And he died at the age of 952 of our years. And I mean, he's giving me all this information. I am a born skeptic. I have a civil engineering license. I have a business management degree, I have a minor in statistics and a minor in geology. So I've got a little bit of a scientific background. And keep in mind, I never even believed in ghosts till I was 60 years old. So this is quite a story for me to believe. But he starts giving us all this information. And I start asking very detailed information of him. So I said, how can I be channeling with you on the other side? Well, the answer was that his soul energy is the same as human soul energy, that we all have the same energy. And then he is the one that explained to me about that we had reincarnated on other planets long before humans walked the earth. He told us, for instance, that aliens have visited Earth since the time of the dinosaurs, and that's around 60 million years ago. So they've been coming here for a long time. So Moo gives us all this incredible information, and I put it into my first book about aliens. It was called Aliens Among Us, Exploring Past and Present. And in that book, I focused a lot on historic information. For instance, we talked about the Nazca lines in Peru. And Moo told us what the line stood for, the different details, how they were made. There's a chapter on that. And he talks about a lot of the ancient miracles. Like he tells us why the pyramids were built. Goes through a whole bunch of stuff. But we channeled with Moo for a period of over 2 years. In that time, he gave me the information that you see in that first alien book. And my new book that just came out last month is called Spirits Speak of the Universe. And he gave us most of the information that appears in that book. We do branch out on some things in that book.
from other guides. But once again, Moo basically gave us all the fundamental information that appears in those 2 books.
So with Moo, what kind of communication did you have with him? How did this relationship go on a channeling basis?
Like any other spirit, we would ask him questions and he would just simply answer them. Sometimes I would ask him detailed questions and he'd say, there's no way you can understand that. We would ask him about what life was like on his planet. He'd say, there is no way you can understand what life is like because we have emotions that you've never felt on this planet. So it's just, it was like channeling any other guide. We would ask for him and he would come through. And he told us, he said, I will be with you for around 2 years. And then I have another mission that I'll be going on and I'll be leaving you. And he was with us a little over 2 years and we haven't heard from him now for about 6 months. And the guide said that the other guides that we work with said that he is now on his mission. So I have no clue what he's doing, but we have lost contact with him just like he said we would.
How long is that mission supposed to last?
I have no idea, but I suspect we won't see him again on this side. We'll see him when we get over.
Right.
Or we'll know what he's doing when we get over.
Right. How do you not build a relationship with these spirits? Does it get to that point, like with humans, if we meet somebody and we become friends with them and we're talking to them all the time, you build a friendship, you build that bond. What's it like with spirits that you continually communicate with for writing your books?
It's the same thing. And we've had spirits that have been incredibly helpful. They serve their purpose and then they move on. But no, I consider them friends. I mean, Moo told us one night, he said, I'm really getting to like you and Connie. He said, I'll be moving on, but I will come back and check in. So I'm hoping he does. We tried to reach him a couple of weeks ago and the guide said, no, he's not available.
How strict are the guides at that point? If you're like, damn it, I want to talk to Moo. I need this question answered. Are they pretty strict back? Are they the ones who hold the cards?
Oh, they hold all the cards. When we ask for a spirit presence, sometimes they'll say he's not available. Sometimes they might say, well, he's back. That soul's not available. He's reincarnated. or sometimes if the person like a Hitler or somebody that was really evil, that person's unavailable because he's in the lower realm over there. It's a place of nothingness, and they can't contact you. Sometimes when people, for instance, when they commit suicide, they might be very troubled, and they have to go through a long process on the other side, just like a rehab that you do on Earth. And quite often, those spirits are not available to talk to us. So no, the guides are in total control. They'll say who you can talk to and who you can't.
What are some of the spirits that you have asked for that you haven't been allowed to talk to? And what was that reasoning?
I've tried to talk to some family members, and they've returned. Their souls are back on this side, but they won't say. The guides will never tell us who they are. So we've tried to reach some family members that have returned. We tried to meet, let's see, I'm trying to think. Butch Cassidy we reached, and I'm trying to think of a few other ones. And here's fair warning: I got a train coming by here in a minute, so you're gonna welcome to live radio.
Will he give us a woo woo?
Oh yeah,
nice.
Yeah, he's coming.
Nice, I can hear him from here.
And he's going to hit that horn right when he goes by the window.
Nice. You need to go. You need to go to the window and start pumping your fist so the conductor can see you. We got to hear this horn.
I can tell you, it does no good.
Really? That's terrible. Terrible.
Well, this used to be a shoe factory, and there he goes. This used to be a shoe factory, and they had rail service into the building. So it's we're close to the damn railroad track. It never fails when I want to do a radio show. they'll come through and blow their horn.
God, that's all right. It just makes for a more interesting, realistic time. Okay,
It's
you were talking about Butch Cassidy. You couldn't get much out of him.
No, we had actually we got Butch. He came through, and his real name was Leroy Parker, and he got the nickname Butch because he worked in a butcher shop. So when he comes through, I asked him, I said, how do you want me to refer to you? And he said, oh, you can just call me Leroy. So I was pretty confident we had the right spirit there. But we've had a couple. Billy the Kid is back. We couldn't talk to him, so the guides told us his story. So basically, we can usually reach them unless they're in that lower level, if they're in a rehab, or if they've reincarnated. That's the main reasons why we can't talk to them.
Have you ever tried to get, outside of people who are famous or your family, have you tried to communicate with, say, people who maybe have worked in places like Dulce or Area 51 or someplace like that?
No, we haven't tried that. I can do it, but it's just not something we've ever tried.
I'd be curious. Maybe you get some secrets for what's actually going on.
Yeah, we probably can. We have delved into Area 51 a little bit with Moo.
You got to go there. You got to go there.
There's a lot going on there. I think sign of old age is you kind of forget. Sometimes you forget about the things you wrote about in your own book. But we talk a little bit about Area 51 in the book.
Are you just going to tease us that way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, come on. Give us a little tidbit. How many aliens are walking around Area 51?
A couple. No, there's stuff going on there. That's quite a place. There's also other places where we are in coordination with aliens at this time too. Moo's projecting that we'll have disclosure by 2020. So there's a lot going on. Going on leading to disclosure.
You're not the first one that has said 2020 is supposed to be the year. Sebastian Martin, who his brand Insuho is a sponsor of this show, he was on with us a couple of weeks ago, and he said in an alien visitation that he got that it was supposed to be around springtime of 2020 as well.
Yeah, Moo didn't tie it down exactly. He just told us it was going to be within 3 years. There's a lot going on down in Antarctica, and that's going to play a big role in the disclosure.
So what's happening in Antarctica?
Well, we ran into a couple of their bases down there. They've had a long time underground base in Antarctica. And apparently we uncovered it, and some people were there that weren't supposed to be there, and some of the information's getting out. And I have a whole chapter dedicated in my new book on Antarctica. And if you know the coordinates on Google Earth, you can pull the coordinates up and go in and see the underground entrance to the cave that leads into their base down there. And I have, in my book, I have the coordinates, so you can go in and look at it yourself on Google Earth.
Excellent. Do you think, though, that there is more of an alien presence on this Earth than what we can even perceive as humans?
Oh, my God, yes. Beyond anything you can conceive of. There are shapeshifters that you absolutely cannot tell are humans. And they've been around for a long time. For instance, Einstein's grandfather was an alien. And that was why he had such great mental capacities. It's because of his alien ties. There's Palladians walk the earth that look just like humans. I know one person that is a Palladian that I've been introduced to. So no, there's many here. Many of the people that have great psychic ability are really have some alien origins.
Whereabouts are they located? Are they spread out across the planet, Or
Oh, yeah.
or are they just in major areas, say New York or Moscow or London or major metropolises?
No, they're spread out. They're spread out. The person I know that's a Palladian lives down in the Baltimore area. So, oh yeah, yeah.
I'm always curious about that. I'm always curious about that. So you have met a Pleiadian, and or a self-proclaimed Pleiadian.
No,
do
the
they have
guides told us she was.
Oh, okay. Does she know that she is?
She suspected. She didn't know it until we told her in that channeling session. But she always did suspect it because she has these great abilities.
See, I figure if I was an alien, all right, and I didn't get the alien, I got the Ukrainian, so I gotta stick with the human roots here. But when I look at it, I think if I was an alien, I don't think I would live a human life. I may walk around, meander, and all that kind of stuff, but I sure as hell wouldn't have things like a job. You know what I'm saying?
I haven't thought of it like that.
I would be enjoying it. And I got to be honest with you. This is where I have a very tough time, Barry, in people saying, oh, I am half Pleiadian, I am half Draco or Zeta Reticuli or, whatever they are. Because I'll tell you right now, if I was an alien, and I've seen aliens face to face, none of this dream stuff, I'm saying face to face. If I was an alien, I sure as hell would not have a job. I would be doing everything that I could, unless it was something cool like at Area 51 or something, knowing that, those bullets there from the soldiers probably wouldn't kill me. Right? Gamma rays may be something different. I'm going real sci-fi here. I'm glad I got a roll of tinfoil within arm's reach here. But nonetheless, I still think that if I was somebody, a humanoid or a human proclaiming to be an alien, I sure as hell wouldn't have a job.
Well, I don't pay much attention to people that claim to be aliens. I pay attention to the ones that the guides tell me are aliens. If that makes sense.
It makes total sense. But if you were an alien, would you work? If you were full-fledged?
I never really thought about it. Probably not.
I'm putting you on the spot. Tell you what, if you come back as an alien and I come back as an alien, let's just go for beers somewhere warm.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. We got a deal here. We got everybody to write that down. We got a deal. But we only got about 4 minutes here before we have to go to our first break of the night. Actually, about 3 minutes here. Our guest tonight is Barry Strohm. You can check him out on his website, Spirits. Oh, goodness. I just lost it. SpiritsPredict.com. I don't know why I just lost it. It's like right in front of me on my notepad. All of a sudden, my eyes were like, I can't see it. Getting old. But nonetheless, when we start talking about extraterrestrials and you have looked into what's happening with Earth and you're saying disclosure is going to happen in 2020, does that come from the aliens themselves, or does it come from the government because they finally say mankind can handle this type of information?
Well, they're holding it off because mankind still can't handle it, but there's so much going on that's coming out. I mean, a lot of this. I mean, I was even told that the 2 books I wrote about them is part of the disclosure process to help people learn. There's a lot going on with social media. You have access to all this information that we never had before. There's photographs all the time. It's going to pop. I mean, there's just no way. They're losing the ability to cover this stuff up. Just like Rendlesham Forest was very real, and they managed to cover that up. Roswell was very real, and they managed to lie about that. But we're at the point now where everybody's walking around with cameras and videos, and the truth is out there, as they say, and we're all going to soon learn it.
Are you afraid for society?
I'm not afraid for myself. I'm afraid for all the people that are so narrow-minded that they can't believe that in the probability of extraterrestrial life. But they're going to have to shift for themselves, you know.
Well, that brings up a curious question with about a minute here to go, Barry.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think happens if disclosure drops in 2020?
I think in the long run, the cooperation of humans and extraterrestrials are going to be a huge boon for the evolution of man, because everything will be out in the open, and the stuff that they were secretly giving to us, they now will be out in the open. There's going to be a percentage of the population that will refuse to believe, but there's a percentage of the population that refuses to believe anything. So, you know, they're going to just have to put up with it, I guess. I don't know what else to say.
And the religious side? Because that's a big one.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard on on the religious side, but hopefully they'll be able to find enough open-mindedness. When you look out and see one, they just have to believe it's all part of God's plan. It's that simple.
And that's a beautiful way to exit into our first commercial break tonight. Barry Strohm is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are talking about channeling boards and using that to channel spirits. Does it work? Does it not? Barry believes it absolutely does. And, you know, Barry's been on this show long enough and many a times where I can tell you right now, he's a truthful guy. If he says it's happening, I believe Barry, and I think you should too. SpiritsPredict.com is his website, so make sure you check it out, and his lovely wife, Connie, as well. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Caribou Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Lorian Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm going to take you for a ride every Sunday night on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to set up your week with some strange tales from across North America, from psychic readings, Sasquatch, UFOs, to the most haunted locations. Come join me at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, and let's get weird together. I'd love for you to join me. Spaced Out Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
There's news, and there's The Encounter. This is Spaced Out Radio News Director Everett Thiemer inviting you to check out The Encounter. Our half-hour news segment every Monday through Friday night is different compared to what you're used to. Our goal is to bring you the weird, strange, and interesting stories the mainstream tends to leave out, and stories that will make you scratch your head in disbelief. The Encounter can also be found at spacedoutradio.com and on our Facebook page, SOR The Encounter. Come give us a read.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you, TJ from Deep Talk Radio, filling us in. Some of the listeners we got tuned in from around the world tonight. Spain. I don't think I've ever had a listener from Spain on here before. The United Kingdom, Puerto Rico, Canada, Romania, New Zealand, and the United States. Thank you all for tuning in live with us on Spaced Out Radio. Really, really appreciate you coming on in. Now, we'll get to tonight's show. Tomorrow night, It's the SOR Paranormal Roundtable, where I bring in some friends. We discuss and debate the month that was and the weird and strange. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. And don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. No Bill Cardwell tonight, as he's hanging out with the wife. So Mike McNeil has set the password in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is verisimilitude. Verisimilitude is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill, but not tonight, Michael, has set the password in the SOR Space Travelers Club for tonight. Doesn't roll off the tongue very well, but we'll get used to it. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You could rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Don't forget, tickets are on sale at questers.ca. That's questers.ca. Click on the fall conference. Get your tickets right now for the first annual Caribou Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers, September 28th through 30th. We got Grant Cameron, Lorian Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, Eric Cooper, Michael W. Hall, Paisley Town. I will be speaking. You'll recognize a bunch of the names. So get your tickets. We want to see you all the way up here in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia, next month. Tonight we are talking with Barry Strohm. He is a spirit board channeler, and his website is spiritspredict.com. You can find all of his books online and Amazon. Barry, welcome back.
Hey, I'm still here.
Awesome. Awesome. We're going to get to some questions from our audience right off the bat here, if you don't mind.
Nope, let's do it.
All right. This one comes from Jade, who is asking, Barry, do you have spirits that say they will be with you for a lifetime?
I don't know about for a lifetime, for multiple lifetimes. We all have soul families of spirits that follow us through multiple lifetimes. Connie and I have been together 6 or 7 lifetimes. So, yes, there are spirits that follow you through multiple lifetimes, through thousands or even millions of years, that are members of your soul family.
That is very cool. Let's get to Saskatchewan, where the Ukrainian watermelon Ron is asking, Barry, have you ever tried to connect with the sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce, or connected to Edgar's source of information?
No, we've never tried Cayce. I've thought about it just the same as I'm thinking about setting up a session where we do Tesla. There's a lot of very interesting people we can do. It's just so many interesting spirits in so little time.
Mm-hmm. Adnome, who always bugs me because he knows I have a fear of gnomes. He is asking, have you ever tried to channel a gnome or had one come through?
No gnome. No.
Thank you. Thank you. You have no idea how this man tortures me about this.
No gnome.
Mm-hmm. Kevin
now,
is.
Go
ahead.
I don't want to get you upset here, but I have actually photographed one.
No.
Yes, I have. Out on the battlefield of Gettysburg. It's an ectoplasm gnome.
What the hell did it look like?
A gnome.
Well, I realize that. But...
A pointy head, just like they say they look like.
Oh. Yeah, keep that picture off my profile. I will get tortured by my listeners. Tortured. You have no idea how much they torture me every single day about this. There's only 4 things that bug me in life. Okay, 5. Gnomes, sharks, snakes, cotton, because I can't stand cotton balls.
Okay.
And soccer.
Yes, I totally agree on the last.
Yeah, if I could get rid of those 5 things on this planet, I'd be very, very happy.
I have not developed a hatred for cotton balls yet. But yeah.
Those things. And styrofoam. Styrofoam, too. Cannot handle styrofoam. I see styrofoam, and I go running the opposite way. My children chase me with styrofoam. That's how vicious they are.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. It's terrible. Terrible. Those are my fears. Kevin is asking, Barry, will you tell us about how Hitler looked when they found him?
Well, he was killed. Hitler didn't commit suicide. He was killed by his officers that were with him. But how he looked, like you would with a bullet in your head, I'm not sure.
Now, why did you go back in that dark place of history?
Because I was writing the conspiracy book, and I thought there was going to be this great conspiracy about Hitler, how he escaped, and he didn't. So that was the end of that chapter. It turned out to be very short. But I asked what happened to him, and they said his officers killed him. They didn't commit suicide.
All right. So basically, you were trying to get the information that he escaped to Argentina.
That's what I thought was going to be a conspiracy, but it didn't materialize. He didn't get out of the bunker.
Weird. Very weird. Besides JFK and Hitler, in, say, the recent 150 years, who else have you tried to get information from to try and figure out maybe there was some conspiracy around their death or about that person?
Oh, one of the greatest ones is John Wilkes Booth. That's 200 years. But I started working on the John Wilkes Booth conspiracy because we had channeled with Ulysses Grant, and he had alluded that he knew who was behind the conspiracy. So anyway, we start working on this thing, and we are told that Secretary of War Stanton and Vice President Johnson were behind the conspiracy, that they actually hired Booth and the other guys to kill Lincoln. Once again, Johnson, I think one of the bottom lines is if you have a vice president named Johnson, you got a problem, because that happened to Kennedy and Lincoln. But I thought I basically got into this thing looking to see who was behind killing Lincoln. But we find out that actually John Wilkes Booth is not killed in Virginia. That Stanton, as head of the Secretary of the Army, arranged for a Confederate captain that they had captured that looked a lot like Booth. They take him down and they kill this guy and tell him that Booth has been murdered. Now, you'll find out that there are no pictures of the body of John Wilkes Booth available. No autopsies, no nothing. And in those days, when an important person was killed, they would take all kinds of pictures of them. But you'll find that there are none of Booth available. So we are told that John Wilkes Booth actually escapes and goes to Kentucky. And 3 years later, he marries a woman in Kentucky. And there is actually a marriage license on record that is signed J.W. Booth. Well, the woman that he marries had a son by a previous marriage, and the son finds out who the guy is. So Booth leaves town and heads for the Texas frontier. Goes to Texas, buys a bar, and starts to live a normal life. Well, there's a woman in town who's going to marry a U.S. Marshal. And Booth fears that when this Marshal comes to town, he's going to recognize him. So Booth heads further out on the frontier, works as a bartender, basically becomes a bit of a drunk, and he gets deathly ill. On his deathbed, Booth does a confession that he really is John Wilkes Booth. Now, unfortunately for Booth, he lives. Now he's got a problem because he's confessed. So the story gets a little convoluted, but there was an attorney back in Kentucky that found out about the birth certificate or the marriage license, and now he finds out about Booth's deathbed confession. Well, Booth takes off and he heads for the town of Enid, Oklahoma. He becomes a house painter, an alcoholic, and in 1903, Booth commits suicide. Now, in my conspiracy book, I have a picture of John Wilkes Booth body in the casket in 1903, and I got it through the U.S. Archives. Now, the attorney that learns that is trying to track him down finds out that Booth is finally dead. He goes to Enid, Oklahoma. He buys the body of John Wilkes Booth and has it mummified. The body of the mummified body was on display in the 1904 World's Fair. Now, I also have a picture of the mummified body in my book. So, I mean, this thing all ties together historically. I did a lot of research on this after I was told the story. The attorney that owns the mummified body dies, and the wife sells it to a carnival. And Booth's body is paraded around the country, and the last time that the body was seen is in 1970 in Pennsylvania. And nobody actually knows what happened to the mummified body at that point. But that was one of the wildest conspiracies that they told us about. And I could go in and track this whole thing and tie it down. And it's a true story. Booth never died in Virginia after the assassination.
That could rewrite American history.
It's out there. It's out there. You can track it down yourself. You go into the archives, you can get a picture of his mummified body, and you can get a picture of him in his casket. In 1903. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let me re-ask that. Have you ever gone into a lot of the music conspiracies, around Elvis, Paul McCartney, the 27 Club? There's so many music conspiracies out there, Barry, that really deserve some type of different attention.
We've never done it. Once again, it's a matter of time. I started writing a book on unsolved crimes. We did a couple. We did Jack the Ripper. They gave me the name of who Jack the Ripper was and told me his story. We did a couple other crimes, like D.B. Cooper. They told me what happened to him. And then I was going to do some of the rap stars that were killed and try to figure those out. But all of a sudden, the guys got involved and they said, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be writing a book about this. So they stopped giving me information after we did about 5 crimes. But I thought it was a really interesting subject, but we got cut off on it. They are in control over there.
Because, I mean, with people's love of music, this is just something that would make complete sense. To be able to find out, was Jimi Hendrix killed? What about the Curse of the Rolling Stones? Kurt Cobain? There's so many different authors out there that absolutely deserve that type of attention.
Well, we can channel live on your show sometime and you can ask those questions.
You know what? We should do that. Let's do that. We'll bring you back in December with Connie.
Okay.
And we'll do some live channeling on here. Let's get into the music stuff, because that's what
you can ask whatever question you want. We have no fear.
That totally intrigues me, and I think our audience, especially in the chat rooms, would agree that let's get into it. Let's get into the music. All right, some more questions from our chat room here. Renee is asking, did you ever check into what the pyramids were exactly for?
Yes. Yeah, actually we did. And there's many pyramids that are undiscovered. Right now are some pyramids in Antarctica that the melting ice is uncovering. The original pyramids had crystals on top, and they used them for navigation.
Mm-hmm. So how were they built to precise accuracy?
Well, the aliens assisted them in it. I mean, they showed them the technology to do it. We asked them how they moved the how they moved the large stones. And Moo said that they had a system of reverse polarity on huge magnets, that they would put the stones, put these big magnets under the stones, and they would kind of glide on a road of magnets with reverse polarity, and that's how they could move them.
Wow. Did the aliens then make the precise cuts?
Yeah, they helped them with all that, sure.
Very cool. Susan is asking, what happened to D.B. Cooper?
Oh, okay. D.B. Cooper, he goes out of the airplane, miscalculates on the air draft, and hits the money, and most of the money spread out over heaven knows. They had the wrong location where he jumped out of the airplane. It wasn't accurately done. But when he lands in trees and he gets injured when he hits the ground. And he lives for like a week and then he dies. And that was the end of D.B. Cooper. And actually, like 30 years ago, or like 20 years ago, they found his remains and didn't realize who it was. So his body was actually discovered, just nobody realized that it was D.B. Cooper.
Did you ever get his real name?
I don't think so. No, I think I forgot to ask that.
All right.
That was one of my chapters under construction when they stopped me.
Oh, goodness. Goodness. Kevin is asking, who again did you say killed JFK?
A fellow by the name of Frank Sturgis.
Cool. We're getting a lot of response that we should do a music show.
We can do it.
I think we totally should. And I'm still being peppered by gnomes, just so you know. Ron is asking, who was Jack the Ripper? Was it H.H. Holmes?
No, definitely wasn't. I can't remember the guy's name. I have it written down in my notes, but it wasn't. It was none of the usual suspects. The guy, actually, the police brought him in and questioned him and didn't realize it was the Ripper, and he took off and went to France, and that's why it stopped all of a sudden. The murders ended. He went over to France and got sick and died over there, and nobody ever realized who it was.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Did you ever look into the H.H. Holmes case?
No. Mm-mm.
That would be interesting for you because Jeff Mudgett, who's an author, and he's been on this show just as recently as a couple months ago, H.H. Holmes was his, I believe, great-great-grandfather or great-grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a sadistic case, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
That was that Hotel of Hell in Chicago during the World's Fair where a bunch of people from around the world went missing, and H.H. Holmes would figure out new ways to torture people to death.
Mm.
Yeah. Considered
cool.
Kind of disgusting, but nonetheless, it is one of those things that there are sadistic people out there. That actually brings up a good topic. What won't you touch on the spirit board? Like, would you go into serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer, or is that just too dark?
I would. It's part of the. I don't request evil. I will ask guides to tell me about it, but I would never request for those souls to come through.
What would be okay? I understand it's about requesting evil. What would be the biggest fear of that? Like, do you believe they are in hell and suffering for eternity? Or do you believe that because they were so evil and sadistic on this side, that they may try and start something from the other side, almost like a Freddy Krueger?
Well, first of all, there is no hell. That's going to get people's hair on fire. There's a lower realm. There are 7 realms in heaven. And there is a lower realm where it's it's a place of nothingness, and that's where they send them. Just like the Pharisees that had Jesus crucified have been sent to the lower level, and they're still there after 2,000 years. So there's no place of fire and brimstone or this guy in a red suit running around with a pitchfork. But there is a lower level. There is a lower realm where they send them and isolate them.
Can those spirits be rehabilitated and therefore reincarnated, or are they just lost souls?
No, they have got to realize what they've done. They've got to ask for forgiveness, and they'll be allowed to come out, but they have to pay for it with their karma in future lives. So they will pay for what they did. They'll have to make it up to the souls that they damaged. Karma's a bitch.
Can you define that a little bit more? Because that sounds really intriguing.
You have to pay for what you do. If you lived a good life, then your karma in your next life will be a good karma. If you lived a life of evil, then you'll have to pay for what you did. And when you've repented and understand what you did, you'll be allowed to come back into another lifetime, but you will have problems in that lifetime. You'll have physical problems or whatever. You'll be, if you tortured people, it's possible that you'll be tortured. You will pay for what you do.
How many lifetimes does that take?
As it depends on how evil you were. In the case of a Hitler, it could take 1,000,000 lifetimes.
Wow. So they're pretty. If they get reincarnated, they pretty much have to live that many torturous lives themselves.
Correct. Yes.
Wow. See, that's what I don't understand about it, though. Okay, is yes, I can understand that you have to torture the soul or the person if reincarnation does happen for somebody like Hitler or Dahmer or, name the serial killer or any killer out there. I get that, and I can appreciate that. But does that not cause, a karmic injustice on the souls that would be his or her family?
Well, the family's not involved for you don't pay for the sins of the son doesn't pay for the sins of the father. You're responsible for your own karma. It's how you live your life that determines what type of situation you'll be in your next life.
Right, but in the next life, you will still have a mother and father who would grieve. You would still have grandparents who would grieve. Maybe uncles and aunts and brothers and sisters. Cousins.
Maybe. That all depends. You don't know.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very weird. Let's get to Jade's question. She is asking, have you ever channeled to learn about the Anunnaki?
Yes. Yes, they were aliens.
And what did you learn?
They were the aliens that assisted the Mesopotamians.
Were they really some of the fathers who mixed DNA with humans in order to create a smarter species?
I do not know if they mixed DNA or not. Never asked that question.
Snarky is asking if you have ever tried to channel God himself.
God's a universal energy, and you will never be able to either see or talk. Jesus was the incarnate form of God. And yes, we channel Jesus on a regular basis. You can go on to my YouTube channel and you can watch videos of actual sessions where we channel with Jesus and make up your own mind whether that is who we're really conversing with.
Let's get to a question from Kevin, or Kevin's Beard. We're never too sure because they are two separate entities. Kevin's Beard, well, I'm going to guess that it's Kevin's Beard. He's asking, can you channel or have you channeled any aliens that have died on this Earth?
No. Actually, we've had souls from other galaxies already, but we've never had an alien that died on this Earth that I can identify.
What about the Roswell creatures?
I haven't tried. Never occurred to me. And I wrote a whole chapter about Roswell in my first alien book.
Well, I guess that's another part to the December show. Music and aliens, channeling here on Spaced Out Radio.
You can ask whatever questions you want. If the guides won't answer, they won't answer.
Have you ever tried Elvis?
No, I haven't tried Elvis.
Who is somebody you haven't tried to channel yet? Let's say within the last 100 years that they lived, that you've wanted to, but just haven't had the opportunity to do so yet.
I haven't thought about that question. We thought about channeling Marilyn Monroe, but we never did that. We did ask Kennedy about his relationship with her, and he did talk about that. But we did ask whether Marilyn Monroe was killed or not, and no, she basically committed suicide. But haven't really tried. We probably should try Elvis sometime.
We'll save that for the music show. We'll save that for the music show. That one will be fun. We'll make a list. You know what? I will let the audience choose the list that night. I won't even make notes for it. It'll be a completely audience participation show. The musician that you want to hear from, whether it's Sid Vicious, Elvis, Kurt Cobain, we'll get it. We'll get Barry and Connie in on it. Snarky is asking, who was the first entity you ever channeled?
Oh my God. The very first, geez, I cannot answer that. I don't remember. We've been with so many. Some of the first ones were my family members. I know one of the first ones was my grandfather. He died in 1955, and we channeled him. And actually, I think I still have the video up on YouTube where we channeled with him. He would qualify as one of the first ones we ever talked to.
And what did he have to say to you?
Just that, he watches what we're doing, that he's amazed that we can do it, that he's proud that we're able to converse with the other side, and that we can give the other side the opportunity to get messages over here. And we talked about the rest of the family members that were on the other side, whether with my grandmother or not, and with my dad and my mother. We've tied it all together. I basically talked to my entire family on the other side.
That's very cool. What about animals? Yeah. Have you ever tried animals?
All the time.
Pets that have crossed over?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Oh, tell us a couple stories about this.
Okay. We lost our cat about 12 years ago. He was a Tonkinese, and his name was Bodacious, so we called him Bodie. And about 3 years ago, we started talking to him on the other side. And I said, Bodie, is there any way we can talk you into coming back? And he didn't want to come back until we got to go home to our place in Utah, because he really liked our home out there. So anyway, in another session, I was talking to him. I said, is there any way we can get you to come back? And he said, okay, I will come to you as a black kitten, and I will find you at the store in 13 months. Within 1 week of when he told us he would come, a little black kitten found us at the store, and it has the exact personality he had in prior life.
Wow.
We made it
Bodhi too?
We asked him. He said, what do you want us to call me? He said, I like my name. Call me Bodhi again. So we did. And he's over in the apartment right now. He's probably curled up with Connie in bed sleeping.
Sounds like a good place.
Yeah, really. But no, we channel animals all the time. We did a session with Bodhi and our other cat Leo about a month ago, and I actually have that up on the YouTube channel. It's about a 15-minute segment, but you can watch us actually talk to the animals and hear their answers coming back. It's very, very interesting because they got one hell of a sense of humor. I mean, they are funny to talk to. And they understand every word that you say to them. Don't ever think that animals are dumb. And you have an animal soul family just the same as you have a human soul family. And as it turns out, the other week we asked Bodhi if she had been, Connie says, I will bet you that he was with me before, his prior life. So when we were channeling with him the other night, I said, Bodhi, were you ever with Connie in prior, before you were Bodhi 1? And he spells out the word Starlight. And Starlight was the pony that Connie had when she was a kid. Yeah. Mm.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Our other cat's named Leo. Leo is the reincarnated dog that my daughter had that she lost about 15 years ago. And he was a golden retriever, and she came back. He came back as a golden cat. She's a tabby, and just as smart as can be. And we were over in the apartment channeling a couple months ago, and I had a box up on the counter, and Leo was laying in this box watching us channeling. And we had the Blessed Mother Mary come through for us. And very emotional session. I mean, her energy is beyond belief. But while we're channeling with her, Leo is laying in this box. I can just see these two little eyes and two ears looking over the top of the box. And when we finished with Mary, Leo stands up and looks at me. I said, okay, Leo, you have something you want to say to us. And his words that he spells out on the board were, I cannot believe I just saw Mary. Think about that.
I'm thinking, man. I mean, for people who are Catholic, that would be a life-moving experience.
Oh yeah,
I think for you know what, and I'm going to change that. I think for anybody who has any sort of belief, that would be a life or spiritual change effective immediately.
Oh yeah, no, it's wild. Her energy. I mean, the tears just run down your face when she's with you. That loving energy she has, you can't describe it.
Adnome is asking, have you ever asked your deceased cats on the other side why they are such jerks when dogs are so loyal?
Yeah, they keep saying because we're cats.
That doesn't surprise me.
That's what they say.
Honestly, that doesn't surprise me at all.
No, that's absolutely what they say to us. They say, well, we are cats,
How do you control the environment you and Connie are in? Because people who have this much contact with the spirit world usually get inundated with spirits trying to talk to them.
Oh, we have a lot. Sometimes we got to block them from trying to get through on the board. I mean, it's very difficult sometimes because when we open that channel, they want to get messages through.
So how do you protect yourself? How do you block that type of energy? Because that has to be 24/7.
When we feel the energy changes, we just simply tell them they have to leave. And if they don't, I say a short prayer asking them to leave, and they will usually get out after that.
What if they get aggressive?
We've never had it. We're very well protected.
Ron is asking, what has been the most disturbing session you have ever encountered?
Disturbing session. We did, when I started working on the book, working on Unsolved Crimes. What was and I can't pronounce the word, but it's it started with a D, Dyatlov Pass.
Dyatlov Pass, yeah.
Dyatlov Pass. We started working on that, and the guides didn't even want to tell us the story of what happened to the bodies. And you could tell that there was just a lot of darkness around it, and they backed right off of it. So that was disturbing for us. When the guides back out of something, you're on the edge.
Okay, well, why would they do that at that time? Because here you are getting a profound piece of information, trying to solve some of these world mysteries. Why are they supporting the mysteries?
Well, they're not supporting it. They just don't want to take a chance of the evil coming through.
So in your estimation, then, what happened?
I think that the evilness that was involved with that was trying to make an appearance, and they backed off and protected us.
So at that point, you, I guess, have to be disciplined in yourself in order to keep the topic away from them. You have to show that respect back.
Exactly. Yeah. We stopped asking questions about it. We could tell something was was not right about it.
How often does that happen where you get shut out?
Very rarely. Very rarely. I bet you it hasn't happened to us 4 or 5 times.
Could you define the other few times that it happened that you were shut out?
I can't remember the instances. We've done this so much, and my mind is not what it used to be in memory wise. So if I don't write the stuff down, I forget it. But I can remember we had a couple sessions where they backed us off. For instance, I do remember one. It was the one of the serial killers out in California. Oh, I can't remember.
Richard Ramirez?
The Black Dahlia.
Okay.
Dahlia.
Yeah.
We tried to solve the Black Dahlia case, and they backed us off of that. So they really weren't happy working around these unsolved crimes because there was so much evil involved with it. I think that's why they just kind of stopped us.
That has to be difficult because they are the ones channeling through you to write these books, and you're trying to get the information on these topics.
Yeah, but they're in control. I mean, it's if they don't give us the information, it's time to move on to another topic.
So when you go to a different topic, how do you adjust then? Because if you're on a roll with something and you've written out a bunch of questions and you've prepared yourself for it, then it has to be difficult, Barry.
Yeah, and I've got about 5 chapters finished for that book, but we just walked away from it because it's the way it is. They don't want us to do that. They don't want us to tempt evil, and I think they were afraid that some of these souls were going to try to emerge and come back at us. So they just walked us away from it.
Intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Very intriguing.
No, we're very well protected. We really are.
What is taboo for the spirit world? in regards to this? You mentioned anything to do with evil, but are there certain topics or certain mysteries that are on this planet that they just feel we cannot touch?
Yes, there are certain things that they do not want, that we are not supposed to know, and they won't go into that. Just the same as there are predictions. They used to give us a lot of predictions, and they backed off of that. Because they will never give us anything that will change karma. For instance, they've been they told us there was going to be a major earthquake in California. And they said they gave us a time within 3 years. And they told us that about a year and a half ago. But they will never give you the exact time or the exact location, because there's people's life plans that are involved in that event. So they'll never give us a prediction and let us change a karma. For instance, they told us before the marathon bombing in Boston, they told us that there was going to be a terrorist attack when winter turned to spring, but they wouldn't give us any more detail. And it turned out it was the Boston bombing, because there were karmas there that couldn't be changed.
And I can understand that they can only give you so much because they don't want you to affect the timeline.
Correct.
Barry, what about different dimensions? Have you ever brought up the whole dimensional theory on the board? And the reason why I bring that up is something that has just been picking my mind for the last few weeks, and I've talked about it a couple of times on this show, including last night with our guest Johnny Enoch, where you get these people who are, they're walking right behind you or walking right in front of you, and then all of a sudden it's like poof. You look, turn and look, and they're all of a sudden gone, disappeared, like they walked into a different dimension or walked into a portal. Have you ever talked on the spirit board about anything like that?
Oh, yeah, sure. The whole story of Bigfoot, they're multidimensional. That's why we've never discovered their bodies. They drag them back through the portal to the other dimension. Or if they see humans, they're afraid of them, and they just drop back into that other dimension, and we lose contact with them.
So does this happen with people that when they, say, walk into a different dimension, say there's a portal somewhere, and they just walk into it accidentally, can they ever come back if it's a regular human being?
Well, what people do is they get involved in wormholes, and sometimes they don't come back from that. Sometimes they do. Just like the bomber flight in 1945 down in Florida, the 5 torpedo bombers had disappeared. They flew into a wormhole, and it took them out to the ocean. That was the end of it. They couldn't get back. But it wasn't a dimensional thing. It was just they got into this wormhole.
So do you believe a lot of these people who just up and disappear, people who've never had depression or anxiety, living a very good life, never been in trouble with the law or the wrong people or hanging out with the wrong crowd, do you think when they just go poof and disappear, do you think that they are being taken by aliens? Do you think they're kidnapped by people? Maybe they committed suicide and just ran away? Or do you believe that they're maybe walking into another portal?
I don't think they're walking into portals. I got a portal downstairs, and I've never, we watch them all the time coming through the portal. Now, admittedly, I'd never tried it, but I don't think they're walking into portals. I think sometimes it's alien. Sometimes, I just think it's natural events take place. But I don't honestly think they're walking into portals.
Do you think people are living in other dimensions and they don't even know that they've crossed into something different?
Possible. There's a lot out there we don't know, and portals is one of them. It's a very involved situation.
Do you think that with these situations, with these portals, are they man-made? Are they just made naturally? Are they all over the earth? Or is there somebody maybe sending them? Or can we as humans somehow create them?
No, they're naturally occurring. In the new book, I write about wormholes and talk about them. And He tells us, Moo tells us what to look for, and there's actually quite a few of them around. And you can get involved in these wormholes and do time travel, and there have been some recorded incidences of it.
Is this how the extraterrestrials get here?
It's one way. It's one method of travel, yes. He described traveling through a wormhole as being in a snowstorm with colored snow.
Colored snow.
Mm-hmm. That's how he described it. Like, you'd be driving with high beams through a snowstorm.
Right, yeah.
And it would be in colors instead of all white.
I can attest to that. But I only saw white. I was channeling for Samantha Mowat. And by the way, listeners, I know a lot of you ask about Samantha Mowat, and I get a lot of questions. When is Samantha Mowat coming back on the show? I actually saw her today. And she is going to be my guest on Thursday, September 6th. So those of you who are going to be listening to this in a podcast form or listening to it live or always message me, when's Samantha coming back on? Next week. Next week she's coming on. But I was actually Barry channeling for her a few years ago. And she believes she is of Lyran descent. And she's like, okay, I want you to... She goes, Dave, I'm testing you here because she is very, very in tune. And she goes, I want you to go back to my homeland. And I actually, when I went there, I went through that portal, that wormhole where it looks like driving through heavy snow with your high beams on. And believe it or not, Barry, I actually hurt myself bad coming out of it. A couple days later, I thought I was having a heart attack. I go into the emergency room, and the doctor, who happens to be my family doctor, says, what did you do? I said, I think I'm having a heart attack. And he goes, no, you stretched out all your chest muscles and your neck muscles. And I was like, he's like, how did you do this? Well, how the hell do you tell your doctor that, I was in a channeling session coming out of a portal? And I just said, you'll never believe me.
Yeah.
I said, you are way too science to believe what I did. But it is dangerous. It is dangerous.
Oh, yeah. No, you got to be careful with this stuff. As I say, that whole, in 1945, that whole flight of five torpedo bombers disappeared forever. If you get into a wormhole and don't get out in time, you got a real problem.
Getting back to the audience questions here, Susan is asking, what can a person do to protect themselves from the spiritual world?
Well, protect themselves from the whole spiritual world, because there's good spirits and bad.
Let's stick. We're talking channeling tonight. All right, let's stick with channeling.
Well, first of all, you've got to have a firm belief in God, and that's what's going to protect you. But second of all, you've got to protect yourself with a prayer, and that is very, very critical.
All right. So when you are channeling or you are in your prayer for that, do you use anything like sage or Palo Santo wood or candles or anything like that, or just straight prayer?
No, we just use a straight prayer. Here, I'll give you, this is the prayer we use when we start every session that we do. And this prayer was given to us by the guides themselves. It goes, God, please grant us your wisdom and protection. Grant us the knowledge that we can handle and keep us safe from all things that will harm us. Keep the messages positive and pure love. Keep us safe from our own ego. We ask these things in the light of the seen, the unseen, and the honesty of God. And we start every session with that prayer.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I feel protected right now as we're talking.
Yeah, and well, you should.
Barry, we only have a couple minutes to go before the break, and the audience questions are really piling up here. So I hope you don't mind, because we love the audience participation. So we're going to kind of run with it. But I promise our audience we will bring Barry back in December, and we're going to do an entire show of your questions channeling music stars. The theme will be music. So if you have a music star that you were fond of that passed to the other side, we will get there. But I want to get over to another chat room. Dr. Rowe in the Revolution Radio chat room is asking, have you ever channeled Joan of Arc or Nikola Tesla?
No, but I want to do Tesla. He's on my list. We just haven't got to him yet.
He's also asking about Attila the Hun or Genghis Khan.
No. No, those are our two pretty evil spirits, and I would be very hesitant to try to ask for them. And they're probably not available. They're probably downstairs.
Okay, so what would you be looking for in, let's go with Nikola Tesla here, and we got about 60 seconds. What would you do to build up for a channeling session trying to get a hold of Nikola Tesla?
Well, I would simply, in preliminary, I would ask the guide whether we can talk to him or not, and she would say yes or no. And if she said yes, we'd go ahead and bring him in. If she said no, he's not going to be there.
And once again, how often does that happen? How often do you get rejection?
Maybe 10% of the time.
So there is a good chance that you can get in there to channel Tesla.
Yeah, if he's not returned. Mm-hmm.
Keep forgetting about that whole return thing. All right, my friend, I'm going to get you to hold on as we were going to go to our final break of the night. Our guest tonight is Barry Strohm. Barry's website is spiritspredict.com. You can find any of Barry's books, and there's 6 of them, I believe. They're all on Amazon. You got to get him. Barry is just a phenomenal person, and he works really hard with his channeling sessions and research on each topic to try and bring you the best of what he can find out from the spirits on the other side about any of the mysteries you are looking for. We're going to bring Barry back on in December and do a music show as well with a live channeling. So stick around for that. We got another half hour with Barry, and then we have Everett Themer from The Encounter coming on in at the bottom of hour number 3. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. We'll be back right after this.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
The first annual Caribou Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Brought to you by the Canadian Society of Questers and Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Moran, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us and bring your questions for us to investigate right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
When it comes to the news, we look for the stories that the mainstream won't cover. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter. This is News Director Everett Thiemer. The Encounter is about the weird and strange stories that occur daily, and we scour the world looking to bring them to you. You can hear me with Dave Scott every Monday through Friday in our Encounter news segment. Read us online at spacedoutradio.com or check us out and give our Facebook page a like at SOR The Encounter. So come give The Encounter a read.
From the mile-high state of Colorado, sharing our signal around the world, I invite you to Spaced Out Sundays. Hi, I'm Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm closing out the week by taking you on a paranormal journey to the world of the weird. Ghosts, aliens, psychic phenomena, I will hit it all in your questions too. So let us highlight the paranormal for you. So come join me for Spaced Out Sundays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night, we end the month With the SOR Paranormal Roundtable, I will bring in some friends. We're going to talk about the month in the paranormal that was. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We say hello to everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio from, about 9 countries around the world on Deep Talk Radio tonight. Thank you so much. And don't forget, you can check out our archives for free. Go to youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Mike McNeil set the password in the SOR Space Travelers Club for tonight because we got a vacationing Bill Cardwell. Cardwell's taking a vacation. Can you believe that? Doesn't even leave us with a password, but that's okay. Penman is filling in. Verisimilitude. Verisimilitude is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill and Mike set the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more coming as we're revamping our website. And, of course, you can now get tickets for the first annual Caribou Paracon, brought to you by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers, September 28th through 30th. Yes, it's just a month away. I'm getting excited. Featured speaker Grant Cameron, David Weatherly, Lorian Fenton, Ross Allison. Go to questers.ca. That's questers.ca. Click on the fall conference and get your butts up here to the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia, at the Spruce Hill Resort and Spa. We want to see you. For the final time tonight, we introduce our guest, Barry Strohm. His website, spiritspredict.com, and you can find any of Barry's books on Amazon. I highly suggest you check them on out. Barry, thank you so much. I'm very excited, and just reading some of the comments in our chat rooms, everyone's all excited about you coming back in December for a music show. Yeah, as long as I don't have to sing. We'll do it. No, I'm not going to sing either, my friend. I'm not going to sing either. So I won't make you sing if you don't make me sing. You got a deal. All right. No, it'll be a lot of fun. I've actually, there were some of the music people that I really wanted to talk to, just really never sat down to do it. So this will force me to get it done. Excellent. Excellent. I think you got a book coming here. I got to be a little careful. They told me I'm supposed to write 11, and I'm afraid when I got to write that 11th when really slow, because I think things come to an end then. So, got to be careful how many books I do from here on out. I know. I'm on 7. Well, you slow down. You slow down. I know you just celebrated your birthday a couple of weeks ago. Happy birthday, belated, from all of us at Spaced Out Radio, number 76 for you. You got lots of time yet. Oh man, I hope so. But if not, I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's a wonderful place over there, from what they tell me. Excellent. Well, we're going to enjoy you while you're here. How about that? Either enjoy or laugh, one of the two. Well, at least other both ways we get to enjoy. Let's start off with some audience questions here. This one comes from Renee, who is asking, Barry, did you ever ask about the Zodiac Killer, who it was? That is one of the ones they backed me off of. I tried when I was working on the crime book. I tried to do Zodiac, and they wouldn't do it. It was just too dark. That's got to be frustrating, considering how popular the case is. Yeah, I had all the questions made up and everything, and they just pulled the string on it, and that was the end. So when you go into one of these channeling sessions, whether they allow you or not, how do you prepare for that? Like, what kind of questions? How many questions do you prepare? It depends on the subject. We're going to be doing a live channeling session we're going to do Facebook Live on Thursday night in our group. I have a Facebook group. It's called Words of God Then and Now. And we're going to be channeling with Billy Graham for an hour. We'll be doing it live. You can come in and listen to it. But for that, I already have 50 questions made up for that session. So I do an awful lot of research that goes with what we do. Interesting. And you can get 50 questions in an hour and still translate it all? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm hearing these messages in my head now. So we can do about 2,500 words an hour at the rate we're channeling now. So we'll fly with it when we do this. All right. Let's move on to another question. Adam is asking, in regards to your topic about God earlier, he is saying, so in a way our lives are under control, but if God is not a being, then who is in control?
Well, you're in control of your own life through free will. You come in with a plan, and then your free will takes over, and you know, if you want to listen to your guides, you follow your plan. If you want your free will, they tell us that evil is never created on that side. Evil is always in incarnate form. So you come into the world without evil. If your free will takes over and you decide to do evil, then you're on your own, and you're obviously not following your life plan.
Wow.
But you're in control. I mean, they will try to guide you. That's why they call them guides. You know, you'll be influenced in things. Things will be set up, but your free will can take over and screw everything up.
What other mysteries have you tried to solve via the spirit board? Have you gone into things like the Bermuda Triangle or, you know, some of the Dead Sea Scrolls or anything along those lines?
Well, I have a chapter in my first Alien book on the Bermuda Triangle. Or maybe, wait, that's in the conspiracy book. Lord, I get them all mixed up. But no, we did 27 conspiracies in that book. And we did do the Bermuda Triangle in that one.
And what did you find out there?
Energy vortexes, and there are a lot of wormholes down there. So some like, for instance, that bomber flight was a wormhole. I forget the name of the ship that went down in 1910, the coal ship. They got caught in an energy vortex and sunk the ship. But basically, it's different types of natural energy forms they run into. The triangle is an intersection of ley lines, so there's a lot of natural energy down there.
You mentioned that you have looked into Bigfoot, and you believe Bigfoot has the ability to step in and out of different dimensions. Did you get into any other types of cryptids, whether it's sea monsters like the Loch Ness Monster, or Dogman, or fairies?
Well, I photographed fairies. I got about 200 pictures of those. And the Loch Ness Monster is real. It is a family. There's actually 3 of them. There's 1 young one and 2 adults. But there's nothing mysterious about it. They're just a deep water creature. But the Loch Ness Monster is real. And fairies are real.
Well, let's talk about the Loch Ness Monster for a second here. Like, how do you channel into that? Do you get your guides to answer that, or do you channel the creature?
No. The guides answer the question. I asked if the Loch Ness Monster was real, and they said yes. And then we went into some detail on it. So they're just a prehistoric type creature that lives down in the deep.
Are they a dinosaur?
Type, similar. But they apparently there's 1 family left. There's 3 of them. There's 2 adults and a baby.
Well, that's kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of sad knowing that eventually they will come to an extinction.
Yes, they will.
What about creatures over here? Because, I mean, famously in North America, there's the Ogopogo here in British Columbia. There's Champ in Lake Champlain. There's a number of sea serpents that have been seen along the west coast between Alaska and Oregon that some people believe is just a giant oarfish, but others who have seen it say, no, this looks like a dinosaur. Are we still having these dinosaur-like creatures around? And if so, they don't seem to have an issue with wanting to harm people.
No, there's a lot of stuff going on out there that we don't know about. Just like I thought sure that the Loch Ness Monster was just a story somebody made up. But no, they assure me that it's real, and there's 3 of them in there.
Susan is asking if you could go into depth about the fairies that you have photographs of.
Most of them I've photographed on the battlefield. And one night I asked my guide, I said, what is the purpose of a fairy? And he said, all things have purpose in God's eyes. And he ducked the question. I really don't know much about them. They've ducked all my questions about them, but I got a couple hundred pictures of them.
And if you want to view those pictures, just go to Barry's website, spiritspredict.com. There is a blue section that has a bunch of different tabs that you can check out. Fairy photography is on there. Now, if I'm scrolling through this, I'm not going to see that gnome picture, am I?
No, you're safe. It's buried deep in my files.
You also do current predictions.
We don't do that much anymore. They kind of pulled us back on that. They did it in the beginning to get people's attention so that we actually, weren't full of crap. We nailed some predictions. For instance, I posted 9 months before it happened that the last pope was going to retire. And that hadn't been happening for 650 years. And one prediction is that the current pope was going to be short term as well. And it looks like that's coming true right now. So,
well, with the scandal the Catholic Church is under.
Yeah. No, I've had that up on the website for a couple of years that he was going to be a short-term pope.
What about these weather changes that are happening? I mean, on the West Coast here during the summertime, it is like a fiery inferno between California and right up here to British Columbia. I mean, 2 years in a row, British Columbia has had the worst fire season in the province's history since they've been keeping record. California and the drought there has been absolutely horrible. What's with this weather patterns? Is this just a natural cycle of Earth, or is this something that is man-created, like through projects like HARP and CERN?
Well, we haven't seen natural weather since the 1940s when this whole thing started. Our weather, not only have we the ability to manipulate the weather, other countries have the ability to manipulate the weather. China and Russia and even Saudi Arabia has their own HARP facilities. And I haven't asked the direct question for it, but I have every suspicion that what we're seeing is some weather manipulation by other countries.
I'm looking through some of the predictions that you made in 2015 that have come true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people will sit there and say, okay, well, anybody can guess that there's going to be tension between Russia and the United States, but you actually predicted that it would happen in the Middle East.
Yes, that was one of our predictions. We predicted an earthquake. We were told in December that there was going to be an earthquake very shortly in Puerto Rico, and it happened in February. So we've nailed some stuff. Some things are still hanging out there because they never give us definite dates. Keep in mind, on the other side, there's no time, and they won't really tie some of this stuff down specifically. But no, we've done our share of good predictions. Missed a couple, but most of them we hit. Sometimes I get predictions that I'm afraid to post.
Give us one.
Well, I didn't
tease us, Barry.
I didn't post the one about the terrorist attack in the spring because I was afraid to put it up for fear I could, if I nailed something like that, I thought I'd have these guys in black knocking on my door. So got to be a little careful what we do here too.
Yeah, you don't want to put too much energy in.
No, correct.
What does it feel like, though, when, okay, let's say you, and I'm being hypothetical because they seem to have shut you off from predictions, but let's say you sit in front of your channeling board tonight, and they hang out with you. Thanks, Ad Gnome, for the other gnome picture. That's just scaring the hell out of me during the show. God, I hate it when he does that. I know he's laughing, too. He's sitting at work right now because he works a night shift, and he's laughing while he's doing this. I know that. But anyways, see how I'm tortured, Barry? See how they torture me?
I do. They're
ruthless.
I'm feeling a lot of pity right now. I am.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I need the empathy. I really do.
Yes, you have it here.
Well, I appreciate that. But getting back to the question, in regards to your predictions,
Mm-hmm.
What do you go through when all of a sudden you see the board come up with something totally erroneous? And you're like, oh my God, I can't see that happening in the next year or two. And then bang, it happens. I mean, that's got to be pretty eerie.
It is. It definitely is. No, they've told us some stuff that it, I put the stuff up whether it happens or not, because, I've not put things up that they've told me and it's happened. So, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So with me, it is what it is. I have no pretenses. I don't make things up. I just tell it the way it is and what they tell us.
Well, I understand that, but it still has to be a little concerning when, here you are, and let's face it, I mean, you take a lot of flack, for doing this from a lot of people who say, you're out of your mind, and then all of a sudden, boom, these predictions start coming true.
Oh, yeah. Well, just if you think people aren't going to go out of their mind, the book at the publisher is about the life of Jesus, the missing 28 years. And, there's going to be some flack when this one comes out.
That had to be hard.
He lived a normal life. I mean, it's until he entered his ministries. When John the Baptist triggered his ministries at the age of 28, that was the first time that he really started conducting miracles and carrying on with his ministries. But for 28 years, the guy lived a normal life.
Getting back to the audience questions here, Renee is asking, getting back to the Bermuda Triangle, did you ever ask about Flight 19? Were they put and sucked into a vortex, or was that extraterrestrial caused?
Well, 19, that was the torpedo bombers, wasn't it?
Yes, there was 4 of them.
Yeah, they got into a wormhole. And it took them out to sea.
Wow. That would be eerie, being in that cockpit when that happens.
Oh, yeah. They probably didn't realize what was happening until they ran out of gas. They would have been so disoriented when they came out of it. That's one of the conspiracies. It's in my conspiracy book.
Jade is asking, Barry, are we ever going to be able to clean up the Earth, especially of evil ones, so we can save this planet?
If we expect to evolve, yes. Our evolution is totally up to us. We can either be a proponent of love, or we can be a proponent of hate. Hate will destroy us. Love will save us. It's almost that simple. Yes. Excuse me. Yeah, they're being played down, and these things happen as a lesson. We're supposed to learn from this, and if we don't learn, then our evolution is in danger. If we learn how to handle situations like this and not get involved with it, then we will be allowed to evolve. It's a very simple situation.
So with the nuclear radiation coming from Fukushima, do you think, like in your bed, like I can honestly say, I got a little weirded out because one of the rivers I used to fish, all right, near it, very near it, there was this radiated steel box that actually washed up on shore.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And when I heard about that, I have never taken another fish out of there. I haven't. I'm all catch and release now because I'm absolutely paranoid that somebody's going to get some sort of nuclear radiation.
Oh, yeah.
From a fish that I caught.
That is really underplayed. I mean, there's a lot going on there that we don't know about.
Mm-hmm. So what other worldly disasters have you asked about? Volcanoes here on the West Coast? Are we going to see Mount St. Helens blow another side?
Haven't asked that. They tell us that Yellowstone is not going to do anything for 200-300 years. But you are going to have some major earthquakes on the West Coast. And one of them is going to be up and around the state of Washington.
I could see that. I mean, Seattle had that big one at 6.9. That was probably around 2005, 2006.
Yeah, we're looking at a very major prediction right now. We've been told that our country is going to undergo a major time of grief in the coming days. I cannot get clarity on it, but it's going to be a natural occurrence. And we can't get a fix on time or details on it. It's very evasive from it. But we were given that in one of our channeling sessions with Jesus, so I'm going to assume that something very bad is coming.
Well, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, very much so.
Well, hopefully he's a hockey fan and doesn't wipe out the hockey. I need that hockey fix. See, that's why I'm glad I moved like way out of a populated area, Barry. So that way, if that big tidal wave ever came, I'm 3/4 of a mile up.
Yeah, I like it. My home's at 7,000 feet too. If I ever get to go home.
Yeah, we're safe. We're safe. Hopefully.
Yeah, no, there's something coming. It's just I just don't know what it is.
Well, and I think not to sound pessimistic, I think you're right on that because whether it's godly or whether it's just Mother Nature who is going to make some sort of change because that's her history of doing that, whether it's a pole shift or a an ice age or whatever else is coming, I think that's just natural. I really do. And it wouldn't surprise me because, I mean, eventually we as people, not to go all Greenpeace on us, but we as people have really abused this planet. And it wouldn't surprise me if she finally gets pissed off and says, okay, I've had enough.
They say Mother Nature can be a bitch. It's, and when she gets pissed off, it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah,
they're saying that this is going to be something natural. That's all we really could get out of them. It might be something like an earthquake on the New Madrid Fault under the Mississippi, something like that we're not expecting. Could be the earthquake in California. Could be something volcanic like Hawaii's undergoing, but it's definitely not what's happening in Hawaii. I asked that question.
Oh wow! Okay. Is there a tidal wave or something along those lines? Some tsunami?
He won't give details. I've tried on 3 different occasions with him.
Well, they are just being a little silly. Just being a little silly. Come on.
Once again, you can't affect people's karma. If it's in their karma to be affected by this event, and they were to learn about it, and they move away from the event, it changes their whole life plan. So there's a lot of good, a lot of bad in a life plan.
And let's face it, we in North America, we're due.
Exactly. No, it's coming. It's definitely coming.
Well, next time you are on the show, I'm gonna get you to channel Carl again. Find out when Carl's coming back.
Okay.
He did come back last October. He and a couple buddies were in my yard, and I could hear them chatting away. One was up my driveway, and the other ones were in my backyard. Yeah, and
cool.
All I could hear was this conversation of going back and forth. I'm like, what the hell is that? Come on. So I did what any man would do. I went to Tim Hortons. Got a donut and a ice cap. What am I supposed to do, Barry? What am I supposed to do? I'm a man here. I'm not going on some... If they're taking me, I'm not going on an empty stomach.
Well, if they're taking you, empty stomach or not, you're going.
Oh, I know that. I know that all too well. My friend, we got about 1 minute left with you tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much for coming on the show again, Barry. And like I said, we're going to do that music show in December. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, no, it was a pleasure. I always enjoy it. It's been a quick 2.5 hours. Loved it.
Could you tell people where they could find your information, your videos, and your books?
If you want to see our videos of our channeling sessions, just go to YouTube and just put in my name, Barry Strohm, Strohm, and the channel will come up, and you can see where we channel with our animals. We've channeled with Jesus. I think I have the Mother Mary session posted, John the Baptist. A lot of interesting videos to see. If you don't want to take time to see the videos, you can I have a new website. It's called wordsofgodthenandnow.com, wordsofgodthenandnow.com, and that's the same name as our Facebook group. And on that website, I have transcripts of the sessions with the Holy Spirits. So you can go in and read the individual transcripts. Gives you a place if you want to buy an autographed book off the websites. You can do it there. The only place you can get an autographed book is on one of my websites. But in all honesty, you can get them cheaper off Amazon. But I shouldn't have said that. But
my friend, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio again. We'll talk to you in a couple months.
Okay, thank you, David. I really appreciate it.
Anytime you want to come on. Coming up next, we have Everett Themer and The Encounter. We're back to The Encounter tonight, our news section for the final half hour of this show, where we discuss the weird, the odd, the strange, and the WTF in the news that was of your day. And to do that, we bring in Everett Themer from The Encounter. Right now, you can find The Encounter at facebook.com/SOR The Encounter, the intrepid news director of this show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing absolutely fantastic. You know what? I am very excited to get Barry and Connie Strohm on in December, where we're just going to concentrate on channeling music artists who've passed on the other side. I mean, wouldn't it be great if all of a sudden, like, Lemmy Kilmister came through and he's like, "Hey, pass me some cocaine."
That's terrible.
I got some great cocaine on the other side while I rock. Oh, come on. He was all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's what made him Lemmy.
What if Paul McCartney comes through?
That would be fantastic, would it not?
That would be weird.
I'm very interested in, like, finding out from, like, Jimi Hendrix or Kurt Cobain on whether or not there is any truth to the conspiracies that they were murdered, or if there is a curse on the Rolling Stones. Because there's no way Keith Richards should still be alive. He's going to outlive my children.
He's got to get a little nervous every time he gets up, doesn't he?
I don't think he does. I don't think he cares. I really don't.
The thing about the Rolling Stones is that I had a high school teacher in the 80s, I think it was 1990, during the Steel Wheels tour. And this teacher said, we have to go see them because they're not going to be around forever. And you need to see them before they break up or somebody passes. And that was almost 30 years ago, and they're still going strong. There have been careers that have started and ended, and people have died in that time.
I know. I know. You know, I'm just wondering, well, remember the whole conspiracy that there was a sacrifice for, I believe, Brian Jones, that when he died, there was a curse that they made a pact with the devil or something along that line, and that's what the song Sympathy for the Devil is all about?
I remember that.
Yeah.
You never know with any musician. They're a strange breed.
I also want to find out about Robert Johnson to see if he actually sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads.
Oh, he did.
I want to find. I tend to believe he did too, but I want to find out about that. That would be one of mine.
Yeah. Oh, if he came through, that would be really cool. I mean, there are so many musicians I'd love to hear from.
Dimebag Darrell, him and Vinny partying on the other side.
I would hope that they had settled down a little bit on the other side.
Oh, hell no. Could you imagine, honestly, because Vinnie Paul, God rest his soul, good friend of Jamie Sexton's, best friends. Could you imagine, like, all of a sudden you see all these, like, guitarists, like Hendrix and Cobain and Dimebag and all these legends, Stevie Ray Vaughan, George Harrison, even Roy Orbison, Tom Petty. All of a sudden, the door to music's heaven opens up and Vinnie Paul walks in the door and they're like, oh, it's time to jam. It is time to play.
Yeah, but what about all the music feuds?
I don't think they continue on the other side. I'm sure that, I'm sure Tom Petty is over there passing out joints, saying, boys, let's just relax and play.
We'll have to wait until the show and see.
Oh, it'd be phenomenal. Desert Clam on Twitter brings up Jerry Garcia as well. That would be cool.
Now I was never a huge Grateful Dead fan, but I would love to meet him, and I'm not sure why.
He just looked like a nice guy.
The kind of guy you could just walk up and have a beer with, or apparently a ton of pot and other things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He lived a good life. A good life. My friend, what's in the news today on The Encounter?
Well, the National Police of Paraguay did an inspection on one of their munitions facilities.
Right.
And they discovered that at least 44 of their rifles had been stolen and replaced with airsoft replicas. And they noticed this. They did this inspection because they noticed one of these rifles had apparently been sold on the black market. And they did this inspection, discovered that 44 rifles and 90 small arms were missing. And these rifles were in storage. They're a Brazilian-made rifle, and they were in storage because they were considered obsolete. But on the black market, at least one that they found, was going for $10,000 on the black market. So,
wow.
They're called a battle rifle. It's a little bit more advanced than what you would consider a sniper rifle. It's more along the lines of an assault rifle. But $10,000 for one of these rifles on the black market in South America. And I think that opens up a huge, huge door to what's really going on with the arms dealing, especially in the drug trade, because at $10,000 and you got 44 of them missing, I mean, that's $500,000 in rifles.
Nonetheless, I mean, how does a national police force not have any security in there unless it's an inside job?
It quite possibly could be. The administrator of that facility had taken this position in January, and he admitted that he does not know, or he did not do an inventory when he assumed his position. So these rifles could have been gone for apparently as long as a year to 2 years.
Holy cow. That's terrible.
So somewhere out there are a bunch of illegal battle rifles, almost like an assault rifle.
That is scary. That is completely scary. Especially with the way, I wouldn't call a lot of the South American countries third world, but they're definitely second world countries. And, in those types of areas, lawlessness, and much like what we see in the Middle East, life really means nothing. It's all about the cause, the indoctrined cause. And that's what gets scary.
And I think everybody would agree that police corruption and government corruption is significantly higher down in South America than it is in many places. So the fact that, like the point you brought up, that this may be an inside job, it's quite possible. And if it's an inside job, where have the rest of those guns gone?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's move on to story number 2.
A 21-year-old Hong Kong woman was in training to be a wedding planner. And part of her training was to fly to China and participate in a mock wedding. And when she got back to Hong Kong, she discovered that she was legally married to a complete stranger.
What?
This woman went through this training, and as she was going through the mock ceremony, she realized that she was signing legal marriage documents. And the company that was providing her training told her, it would be canceled and nullified as soon as the ceremony was over. It was just procedure, just part of the training. When she came back to Hong Kong, she discovered she was legally married. And it turns out that this is an ongoing and growing scam to allow Chinese men access to Hong Kong.
So her own company played her for money.
It was a company that she was essentially purchasing training from. She didn't work for them. She was purchasing like private training to be a wedding consultant. She wasn't employed by the company.
Well, I hope she went to the police and filed a complaint.
Well, she did, and she will basically have to get a divorce. Go through the whole... It's a little different in Hong Kong than it is here in North America, but basically have to go through the proceedings to get a divorce.
Well, I understand that, and I can appreciate that because she is legally married, but can she not have retribution and sue this schooling company? I would.
I don't know how the laws over there work, again, because it's multi-jurisdictional, Hong Kong and China. But it is becoming a growing and serious scam. Last year, this happened 1,000 times. There were 1,000 of these fake marriages or scam marriages that took place.
Wow. That's
scary.
But
can you imagine just thinking, one day you're training to be a wedding planner, and I can see how that would make sense, that you have to experience all of the aspects of a wedding, and then you come to find out that you're legally married to a complete stranger.
Well, I'm pretty sure that she has a definite lawsuit there because she was tricked into it. Hopefully just something bad doesn't happen to her, on the way. Scary.
Yeah,
very, very scary.
Yeah, it's an interesting take on the old arranged marriage or the illegal marriage that we have here, where sometimes people are paid to take a spouse so that they can get residency and legal status. Here she didn't even get paid. In fact, she had to pay them.
Oh, the poor girl.
I don't know if her wedding planner certificate is accredited or not.
Well, at least we know she didn't consummate the marriage.
She didn't go home right after the ceremony.
No.
You never know. You never know what's going to happen in China.
Oh, I hear you there. My friend. Let's move on to the next topic.
Are you a big probiotic guy? Taking those?
No.
Really?
Look at me, man. I'm overweight by about 25, 30 pounds. According to my doctor, probably closer to 50. But to my hockey weight, I'm like 35 pounds. No, I don't take that stuff.
They do much more than help you with your weight. I mean, there's a lot going on in your gut that affects your overall health. And
That's
I'll
what
admit
I have
that,
hot sauce for.
Yeah, that's true. I'll admit that I've taken these once or twice, but I'm not sure I'm going to take them anymore because a study coming out of Wake Forest University in North Carolina has found that there are probiotics in baby poop that are beneficial to the human body. They believe that there are probiotics in dirty diapers that can help with Alzheimer's, diabetes, heart disease, and they are probably going to try and find a way to harvest those probiotics.
I have to say, that would actually be a good idea. I mean, because you look at the stem cells from umbilical cords and the power and the health that they have in helping people in certain situations, and I apologize, I'm not up on my medical jargon on that, but nonetheless, there is a lot coming from a newborn, which obviously comes from the mother, that is very, very healthy. And if there is something to this, as grotesque as it is, because, I mean, playing with any type of human feces is kind of grotesque. But if there's something to that and it helps save lives, go for it. I mean, that's a lot of doo-doo, man, that can save a lot of money. Now all of a sudden, baby doo-doo is going to be worth big-time bucks, man, if this pans out. And we all hit it late.
You're kind of on point there. The idea of this research was that infants their bodies aren't dealing with age-related illnesses and diseases yet. So the fatty acids that they're producing aren't focusing on certain things, and they're essentially more concentrated towards one or two strains of fatty acids, which those are the fatty acids that would help with things like diabetes, Alzheimer's, heart disease. So, they're only testing on animals or on mice right now, but I can see how people would jump on that, but I can also see how that's really, really gross, and I'm never taking probiotics again.
Well, just like the people who are wanting to drink that 4,000-year-old fluid out of the Egyptian tomb that was just discovered, all of a sudden these millennials are going to be, racing for as many dirty diapers as they can.
Don't forget the mummy cheese.
Oh, yeah, mummy cheese, too. Gross. All right, we got time for one more.
Some data hackers, for a brief period of time, changed the name of New York City on what is called OpenStreetMap. They changed the name of New York City to Jutopia. And this street map is the one, it's an open map that other apps pull from. And this affected things like Zillow, Wikipedia, Snapchat was affected by it. An app for a bike rental thing called City Bikes was affected by it. But for a brief time, New York City had a name change.
That is terrible. Funny,
but it's not
but terrible.
It's not uncommon. The company that handles this said they deal with 70,000 changes a day, and if somebody goes in there and just changes it, the algorithms will flag it, but most of them, if not all of them, still have to be reviewed by human eyes. And this one just slipped through. And I'm curious now that if you read some of the papers, they go into quite a bit of detail of where and how and what all this was. I'm interested to see if this now becomes a game. If people just start changing the names of things to see if it can get on the map for a little while and how long it'll take them to notice it.
You know what? I'm wondering sometimes about these hackers. And granted, maybe they're bots. I don't know. I'm very illiterate when it comes to behind the scenes of the internet and the World Wide Web. But, I mean, to think that there are people in their basements who are, thinking that this is funny. And it is funny to an extent. But, but I mean, who has time for this? This is what I'm curious, okay? Like, hey, if you want to try and hack into, like, the CIA or the DIA or some alphabet agency, that's funny. That's good stuff. I know I'm being hypocritical here. But who has time for that?
When you're learning, you don't want your first test to be the CIA. That just sounds dangerous. So why not make it something like, a company like OpenStreetMap or something, where when your hack is discovered, you get a little bit of fame, it's a little bit of fun, and there's not really any permanent foul or permanent harm to you. I just think if the first attempt you made was to the NSA or the CIA or the FBI, and you got discovered, that would be, could potentially be quite painful or harmful to your reputation.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, never mind the jail time that goes along with that, and your computer's being completely hacked. It's just not very fun. The alphabet agencies don't like stuff like that. They don't like competition.
Well, OpenStreetMaps wasn't too keen on it either, but
no,
it was taken care of, and it's funny, but at the same time, it's a little bit telling. I mean, it's just the idea that this was picked up by AI is interesting.
All right, my friend, let's get to the thought of the day. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where during the day we put a question out on our Twitter and Facebook feeds, and then we allow you to answer them because we love our audience participation around here, and we read your responses on the air. So today's Thought of the Day is as followed, and it goes like this. What are your thoughts on communication with spirits and more through a spirit board? Let's find out what our audience has to say. Graham says, only nature spirits, a good positive spirits, or andars. Don't know what an andar is. But not the attachments, wisps, shadow weights of aggressive nature, or a cemetery-dwelling wraith or lich. They can really hurt you if you are not careful, Mr. Dave Scott. Alignment to the force of life is measure. That is way too deep. Daniel states, I'm afraid to use one. My mother told me a story of her using a spirit board as a child. She asked it a question. The planchette jumped at her. After that, she never used a spirit board again. I asked what the question was, but to this day she will not tell me. Kurt says, define spirits. Is that like a good shot of whiskey and hearing voices as you hit the pool table? Oh, my goodness. Oh, that is a good one. That is a good one. All right, let's move on. Come on, I thought you would get a laugh out of that one, Everett.
I was laughing on the inside. I was actually went back and started thinking about that bourbon or vodka.
Oh, that would be nice. Brent says, insane. Stay away from them unless you absolutely know what you're doing. Coming from a guy who was possessed because of one as a teenager. Don't use them unless you are shielded massively. Timmy says, not really sure. Haven't had any supernatural contact in my life. Sarian? It all depends on the level of intention you bring to the experience. And I think that's a good point. I mean, if you're out there searching for bad, you're going to get bad.
I can see that. I can relate to that. I can understand that.
And everybody's like, oh, no, they're tricksters. The one thing I want to get to, you actually answered this, Everett, and I'm going to read your response here because I think it's very logical. You said, I'm still not sure how a spirit board would be any different from the other tools investigators use, and we don't go telling each other our cameras or recorders are too dangerous to use. Why do you think the Ouija board gets such a bad name? Is it Hollywood? Is it because it's been around for hundreds of years? What's your thoughts?
I think that some of it is Hollywood, but it in a way started long before Hollywood had turned it into what it is. I think some of it is the idea that it is such a personal thing to use. Does that make sense? That
but you're right though, because what's the difference between a Ouija board or a pendulum or even the ghost hunting equipment people are using today?
Exactly. And I'll tell you, I don't think there is any difference. I don't think anybody is more apt to get some sort of attachment or open up a portal by using a Ouija board than they are anything else. I don't think there's much to that.
Does it come down to people and humanity always wanting something to blame?
I think a lot of it comes down to people like the attraction of the potential fear and scare factor of the idea of that's the one thing that we shouldn't use. I think that plays into it a bit.
All right, let's get to some more responses here. Thomas says, never mess with stuff you cannot master, especially in the supernatural realm. Jade says, I don't need one because I'm on the East Coast. I added the because I'm on the East Coast thing. Cat, possible, but I do not like that you have to touch it. To me, touching it is too much of a random muscle twitching and wants of people using it. I think that's interesting. William, dangerous. Keep well away from deceiving spirits. There's our warning. There it is. That's what we just talked about.
But how do we know what the deceiving spirit is?
We don't. How do we know if we're using some of that ghost hunting gear that we're not getting deceiving spirits?
Exactly.
Harlan, it manipulates the cosmos. Okay. Jade, the problem with using devices or even one's gifts for communication lies in the inability for many to understand the real and present danger that comes from opening an energetic pathway in which many energy beings or entities can get through. Often those with the gift have it for a reason. And once they learn that they must clear before and after each and every session, it becomes less likely that any unwanted entity attachments can attach. I think we got time for one more here, maybe two. Renee, using a spirit board is a very dangerous step to make as you are opening a doorway where anything can step through. Ooh. Ozzy Rob, some do not need a board to get messages, but for those that do, always shield and protect before opening the board. And also don't forget to close it at the end, thanking the entities that were communicated with and told that they are not allowed to linger afterwards. Susan gets the final word tonight. I believe you should not use a spirit board unless you know how to protect yourself properly. Always have safe spirit board. Mr. Everett Themer, let us know where we can find the encounter for right now.
We can find the encounter at facebook.com/SOR the encounter online.
I don't know why that's so funny. Safe spirit board. Absolutely. All right, we want to say thank you to Barry Strohm for coming on tonight for our interview for 2.5 hours. You can find Barry at Spirits. Oh, goodness, I forgot his website again. I apologize. I really do apologize, Barry. Why can I not remember his website? SpiritsPredict.com. There we go. Tomorrow night on the program, I'm having a bunch of friends over. We're having a party. It's the final Friday of the month, the SOR Paranormal Roundtable. Come join us. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. After the show, go to questers.ca. That's questers.ca. Click on the Fall Conference. Get your tickets right now for the first annual Caribou Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers, September 28th through 30th. It's just a month away. You're going to love this event. Go there to find more information. Big thank you to everybody listening in on Spreaker and all your comments on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. We brought the woo tonight for you. Peak woo. Hashtag peak woo. And the Veterans Club, the SOR Space Travelers. Thanks for sharing the show, making it bigger and better every single night, because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.